Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Nick Falato. No, I have not yet updated my refrigerator scoreboard. It's still 2-8. The Giants are officially 2-9, Nick, but thought maybe we would open the show after another loss for the Giants, the first of the Mike Kafka era as interim head coach, with things that I'm thankful for. And you can maybe add to this on things that you're thankful for, because it is November 16th. We are very close to Thanksgiving. And I am thankful for the Giants' offensive line, Nick. The Giants' offensive line played its best game of the season in its toughest matchup, both in pass protection and the run game. These are some stats from Doug Analytics. Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary averaged 2.4 yards before contact on inside runs, with only one of their attempts hit behind the line of scrimmage per Next Gen Stats. Before this week, it was just 0.7 before contact, and 48% were hit behind lines. So they had their best run blocking game of the year. They ran the ball 38 times with an EPA of 0.075. Since 2000, teams that had 38 rushes and at least 0.025 are 322 and 14 with a 96% win percentage. The Giants were one of the 4% today. So I did joke around there. I said it was going to be things we're thankful for, and then I mixed in something sad.
So you're telling me the New York Giants in 2025 found another innovative way to lose football games and to not maximize the statistics that they do have to their advantage. But now, to your point, Dan, the Giants' offensive line, dare I say, commanded, demanded on the line of scrimmage, dictated to the defense, a good defense that stifled the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And to a loss, but as we know, the Giants struggled to finish. They blew another fourth quarter lead, albeit this one was 1 point. Like it wasn't a massive lead, but they blew another fourth quarter lead. Defense allowed the offense to drive down the football field and score again. And I wouldn't be shocked for the second week in a row if there's massive changes made to the Giants coaching staff, and Shane Bowen is fired tomorrow. And Connor Hughes of, I believe, SNY, if I'm not mistaken, has reported, or at least he has insinuated that heavily. And I'm just curious as to what direction the New York Giants are going to go in when it comes to the defensive play caller. But I think we can all agree, or at least I don't want to assume for everybody who listens to this podcast, but I've got to imagine a lot of people are ready for this chapter to be over, to use a euphemism and to be kind.
Yeah, and we don't know for sure if he will be fired. That's something Connor Hughes is speculating. And it seems likely, maybe just for the first week against the Packers with Kafka as interim. He didn't want to do too much of a shakeup, and now he'll make that move. I mean, it's bad when they announced, like, Drew Brees is covering the Giants game. I think it was his first game in the booth ever. And he's like, why are I forgot, I'm trying to get this exact quote. He's something about, like, the Giants just keep playing man coverage and getting destroyed in man, like, over and over and over again. And that just seems to be the situation. They've run so much man coverage this year with no success doing so really at any point. Very predictable defense. At no point did I feel like Jordan Love was confused. At no point did I feel like Jordan Love was uncomfortable back there. He was slow to begin the game, but a lot of that was just Romeo Doubs dropping 2 easy passes that he should have caught that just saved the Giants at the beginning of the game. I didn't really feel like this was a good defensive performance at all. I thought it was our worst game pass rushing. I thought it was just bad all around. We were okay in the run game, but a lot of that was just Josh Jacobs getting hurt. And then once they got that red zone opportunity with Wilson, they scored. So it's not like we were even good in the red zone. Another Deontay Banks lack of physicality play where he just didn't want to make the hit. I don't even know if it's effort thing with Banks. I just don't think he wants to make the hits. I don't think he's a physical dude out there, but it goes well beyond that. And it does go beyond Bowen at this point too, Nick. I really do believe that. I think it's just a talent issue as well for the New York Giants on the defense side of the ball.
It is. But Shane Bowen, I mean, we beat this up. We have discussed this a lot. And on the Shane Bowen is just not a defensive coordinator in the National Football League, and nor should he be here with the New York Giants. And as for Tae Banks, man, I mean, Tae Banks couldn't make a play if he was paired with Lin-Manuel Miranda. You know what I mean? Like this guy, like, he could not do it if it was given to him.
Reference.
Yes.
Who the heck is picking up on? Somehow I knew that. It's rare. Yeah. Can't believe I picked that up.
No, great job, by the way. But no,
it's not that great. Anyone should know that, but
no, I'm saying great job relative to you though, because I know that's not
good.
We're here for the jokes. No, but Tae Banks is he can stick in your hip pocket, and he was doing that. Even on the touchdown that he surrendered, which was such an improbable touchdown, not necessarily because of Tae Banks' good coverage, which it was good coverage on that play. It was an insane throw. Cordell Flott almost knocked it down. Brian Burns nailed Malik Willis. And I think there was another, I think Dane Belton like just missed knocking it out of the air too. It's just like, of course, such a low probability play goes against the New York Giants, but that's what happens to bad football teams. Right. And when it comes to Tae Banks, there's so many times where it was a run to the outside or run up the middle where he had a chance to make the hit, just doesn't, just complete lack of physicality. And then I see like Javon Holland, who has not had a great season here in New York, fly to the sideline and then lay a shoulder into Josh Jacobs or whoever it was and knock him out of bounds with like a physical nature after Tae Banks surrendered the outside. And it was on that long run. Was it Malik or was it Bo Melton? Whichever one it was. Tae Banks just surrendered the sideline again and then just didn't get off his block. It's just the guy could just not make a play whatsoever. And if I'm another player on that defense and I consistently see that, that's got to eat at them, man. That has to eat at them.
Yeah, and we got some confirmation. It has to at this point. I think for these defensive players, it's not that they're checked out. It's that they're overmatched in some spots and they're not in a scheme that I don't want to say motivates them. They're not in a scheme that is exciting for them. It doesn't create any chaos. There's no havoc. And these quarterbacks aren't, like you said, they have the answers to the test. So it's just kind of repeat, rinse, and repeat week after week now with Shane Bowen. We had a little stretch, like that Denver game before the collapse. The defense looked good. The Eagles game before that, defense looked good. But it was just such a small stretch of football. And now we're at this point where we are really in the thick of one of those like dead seasons where you can tell like defenses could start the game hot, but we know we're definitely not going to continue that into the third and fourth quarter. Some interesting comments I thought came out of this game. This was from Ryan Dunleavy, who covers the Giants. He said, after the game, Wan'Dale Robinson said, on Mike Kafka's debut, I thought he was great. He didn't overreact to anything. Interesting. He was aggressive. He wanted us to go for it on some of those fourth downs. He stayed calm on the sideline. These are crazy comments from Wan'Dale Robinson, like literally feeding into these narratives that have been circulated on Giants Twitter and among the fan base. And like, as if like we're pretty sure that he's read this and he knows these narratives. So for him to say that is pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, and it's not surprising, though. Like, Brian Daboll wore his heart out on his sleeve. The guy was a basket of emotion on the sideline, and Mike Kafka is the exact opposite. And I have to imagine that brings some sort of a calming energy and to the sideline that can maybe take a slight burden off the shoulders of some of the players who may not want to deal with their coach being frantic every time a mistake happens.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mean, look, they don't want... It's your job as a head coach to stay calm on the sideline. Like, you need to be composed. Let's think of like how many coaches in the history of the NFL that have won Super Bowls were not composed on the sideline. Like, besides Nick Sirianni, like, who didn't really, like, he won the Super Bowl. How he won that Super Bowl. It's not Sirianni. Like, the ones that are actually consistent winners are not the guys who are freaking out on the sideline and are typically the guys that are aggressive. Like, yes, it didn't work today, but I applaud Mike Kafka for being aggressive in those spots, quite honestly. And it was a cold freaking day and it was hard to catch the football, which leads me to my next point. Isaiah Hodgins, his re-debut with the Giants, just caught everything that was thrown to him, the exception of one ball. Like, just looks sticky when it comes to catching the football. Jameis hit him a couple backside digs. I mean, at this point with Hodgins and our situation at wide receiver, Nick, he's somebody who I want to re-sign already. Like, I already want him re-signed for the Giants because I just believe he's the type of depth you need. He's big. He's physical. He catches everything that's thrown his way. He can block. And he should have been the one targeted on that final throw from Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I would say it's 11 weeks too late at this point. Like, Hodgins should have been here for a while, especially after the Malik Neighbors injury. It's like, why are we doing this whole like Jalin Hyatt thing and bringing up little Jordan Humphrey and Ray McLeod when this was an option? And then he comes in 3 days with the team and he produces and he's their leading receiver. And Jameis is connecting on third down, fourth down. And that one, what was it, a 3rd and 5 play where Hodgins was running the vert. And then like he took a step to the inside and then he broke back outward away from the leverage and away from the coverage. Nice. And James found him as he stepped up. And that is like the quintessential Isaiah Hodgins type of play that we saw back during the 2022 seasons with Daniel Jones. So he brought that back to this offense. It's just like, why the hell didn't we do this earlier?
No, I don't know why the Giants didn't bring in Hodgins earlier. It's very odd. Some people have speculated it's a Daboll thing. I don't think it's a Daboll thing. I would probably say it's more of a Shane thing, maybe something with the money. The money shouldn't be an issue here. So like signing Ray McLeod type. I don't know. It's very odd. I don't really understand the Isaiah Hodgins situation. He knew the offense, right? Like it's not like you're signing Ray McLeod and he has any feel for the offense. I felt like when they brought in McLeod, he was just running crap. Like it wasn't a big part of the offense. Isaiah Hodgins knows where to be. He knows this offense inside out. Obviously, you want a player like that in your offense, but the Giants didn't view it that way. At this point, he's back though, and I like that. Honest, just back to what I was saying though, like given the lack of depth we have at receiver, Nick, and all these injuries that have piled up, in my personal opinion on Wan'Dale, I'm not really looking to re-sign him for anything big. I like Hodgins. I hope they re-sign him, dude. Like, I think he's like a good depth piece that I can count on coming into the game, catching shit that's thrown his way, which a lot of our guys can't do, and then being a size guy, like being somebody who can blocker. Yeah, he can block. He's a frame out there to have in your run game. And then he's a red zone guy. Like what I meant by that is not that he was open on that interception by Jameis. What I meant by that was he might have finished his route. Because after the game, Amani Toomer, former Giants legend receiver, was like, I've never seen any receiver run a corner route, been told to cut off a corner route. Because I know some people in my replies were like, because obviously like everyone who watched that was rightfully blaming that not on Jameis, even though some were. And people were like, he found a soft spot in the end zone. I'm like, Jalin Hyatt didn't find a soft spot in the end zone. You don't just settle on the end zone. You're running a corner route. You run the route to its fullest, and you go try to make that play on the ball. But if that was Hodgins at 6'4", I think he would have had a better shot to make the catch.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have. And yeah, with Jalin Hyatt, he stopped his route, not because I don't think it's because he necessarily just maybe quit. He thought that sitting, like he was going to sit because he saw the way the defense was rotating. Right. So that would be to the point of the people saying it's a soft spot, but you just don't do that with the corner route because Jameis is going to throw the corner in anticipation. And if you're not there, then that's going to happen. Right. So I think it's more along those lines, and I could be off there.
No, that's exactly what Toomer said. Toomer said there's no such thing as a option corner route. That's the point that you just made. You can't. It's not an option for the receiver. You run the corner. Like you don't find a soft spot. That's just not playing receiver. And I think Bobby Skinner did a great job. Nick, I don't know if you saw this breakdown of one of the third downs, the mesh route, where Hyatt just completely botched his assignment on the mesh and was supposed to run the mesh underneath and instead ran it at like a nonsense step that ruined the whole play. And he would have been open if he just ran the mesh at the right depth, and Jameis was going through the progression, would have hit Hyatt on that. So this guy is just really bad at, I guess, playing wide receiver, running routes. Remember what that Cowboys coach said? Like, you're fast, dude, but you can't run routes. Well, I guess he was right. I guess we just drafted someone and traded up for someone who literally can't run routes.
Which is crazy. Funny. It's just funny because the Cowboys wide receivers coach or whoever that was, whatever coach that was, it didn't even like, he was just like, yeah, you got your one skill set. And then he's like, oh, what's my one skill set? Huh? What is it? Huh? What is it? That one skill set's not even really showing up at this moment.
Yeah, it was not even fast. Like, what the heck?
No, and not even just that. It's like, dude, the Giants signed Isaiah Hodgins, and he's having he had a massive impact in this game. And you've been with this team for how long? And you've just been riding pine. The Giants are trying to give you these opportunities, or even if they weren't trying to give you these opportunities, you're finding these opportunities because of misfortune that has befallen the New York Giants, and you consistently cannot rise to the occasion. Consistently,
right?
What a just terrible draft for the New York Giants 2023. Trade up for Tae Banks, a guy who can cover. That's all he can do. And then trade up for Jalin Hyatt, a guy who is fast, but really he's not even as fast as he's built up to be, but can do absolutely nothing as an NFL wide receiver. It is rough in these streets. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right. And just keeping on the offensive side of the ball about this game, there's a lot that I want to talk about with you, Nick, that goes well beyond this game. I think that's what our listeners really want to hear, but there are stuff that we still want to cover from this game. And I want to say, I think Jameis Winston, we'll see tomorrow on the tape if it is confirmed, thought he played a pretty damn good game, to be quite honest. And I know some people will disagree with that if they hear that right now and be like, what is he talking about? Well, when you consider just how windy it was there in the stadium and how hard it was to throw the football, as we saw with most of the game for the Packers until the end, Jameis Winston was 19 of 29, that was 66%. Over 200 passing, 6.9. He also had a 0.25 EPA per play per dropback. That's in the 75th percentile among quarterbacks, according to Doug Analytics. A 49% success rate and a 0.24% completion over expected. These are all solid numbers. Like, it wasn't amazing, but he had a solid performance. He had a couple backside digs. He converted a 2nd and 10, a few third downs. Thought he threw the football well, better in the first half. But regardless, thought he was pretty solid in this game. And it was clear the Giants wanted to establish on the ground, which they were able to do in the run game.
Yeah, and it seemed like they did it in a variety of different ways. We'll check that out as we always do on the All 22 podcast. But I agree with your assessment on Jameis Winston. It looked like 1929, 201 with 2 turnovers. We're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? But it really he was moving the football. He was efficient on third down. He was hitting on fourth down at that one the route that we brought up before with Isaiah Hodgins, where he broke out like that. That's a tough, like a lot of those throws were tough. Like they were like, there was an underneath defender. He needed to get it there in a timely fashion to beat the over top defender while also putting just enough touch and pacing on the football to clear those underneath defenders. So he was operating basically from sideline to sideline doing that. There were throws in this game that showcased that specific skill set from Jameis Winston. So I came away impressed. I wish it was a more, weather neutral environment. Maybe we would have got to see him air it out a little bit more, but that's just not what was in the cards. And you see how the Packers struggle with that as well.
Right. And no one really hit downfield, the exception of like that one throw by the Packers to Watson in the end zone. Wasn't even a super long throw. Yeah, just another insane throw. Those were the two best throws of the game. And I see JLT in the comments. You're right. Jameis did almost throw 4 picks. Like he put the ball in harm's way a lot too. And some of those are just anticipation throws where you could see like if we play more Jameis, there's going to be times where these corners are going to be cheating and coming off their routes to jump those corner routes.
Yeah.
So those outbreaking routes.
It's also knowing the Giants offense too. The Giants do a lot of those clear out and then sit, clear out and then sit.
Right.
So those two almost interceptions that Carrington Valentine had, Jameis Winston tried to fit it into the number 2 on an outbreaker, and Carrington Valentine was aware, like, okay, if they're going to run we're going to run safety over the top, and I'm just going to squat down on that number 2 out. And those were 2 should be interceptions. And then the one interception I did throw, it's like, yeah, the coverage rolled that way, but if Hyatt was there, it probably would have went incomplete. But to your point, JLT, I mean, you're right. Yeah, Jameis did almost throw some interceptions. He still made perfect. Yeah, but he also made some throws to put the Giants as a third string quarterback in a position to be a team that people were saying could compete for the Super Bowl, right? Yeah. So and I know that they haven't played super well, but all those things considered, no Cam Scatterbo, no Malik Neighbors, all this kind of stuff. No
Slayton.
I didn't think it was a terrible performance for Jameis Winston.
No, it was a pretty solid performance, honestly. The stats back it up. And when you consider just like all the context that Nick brought up, we're talking about a quarterback too. We're not looking at Jameis as our future. We're looking at him, in my mind, as is he someone who helps the Giants as the quarterback 2 behind Dart? To me, the answer is a resounding yes. If they had Russell Wilson out there today, this is the comp I'll use, JLT, and whoever else is disagreeing, we would have been a disgustingly horrific turtle-looking offense that doesn't move the ball at all and is throwing. And we would have been just like Jameis can move the football. He's no team this season has scored a first quarter touchdown or a first drive touchdown against the Packers. The Giants were the first team. Jameis hit backside dig on that drive, and he had an outbreaking route that Russ would have never hit. Like he's very legitimately a very, very good quarterback too, and played a very solid game against the best defense the Giants have faced all season long. Speaking of the offensive line, as I mentioned earlier, Nick, this is the as we move it forward, Nick, this is the positive that I have to take away from this game. That they had their toughest performance, their toughest matchup against Micah Parsons, and until the final play, which is a Hail Mary, Micah was pretty much eliminated from this game by the Giants offensive line for the most part. And as we move forward, like, yes, this season's lost. We're 2-9, but I'm so excited about the idea that Jackson Dart will enter his second season with a ready-made offensive line that is playing better than any offensive line has played since at minimum the 2009 season. People will point to 14-15. That wasn't good offensive line play. That was just quick game all the time from McAdoo. That's not like good O-line or anything. We didn't run the ball either that year. So this is the best O-line I've seen in a long time for the Giants.
It's one of the positive takeaways from this game is that our offensive line held the Green Bay Packers defense in check. Now, obviously, the Giants don't play complimentary football, so that doesn't necessarily translate to the Giants winning football games. And look, what the Giants had, they had a 15-play drive in this game. They had a 16-play drive in this game, just slow and methodical. I think they had over 10 minutes of time of possession on the Green Bay Packers. They outgained the Green Bay Packers. So they were doing they followed the script that they wanted. Like the game flow allowed them to follow the script that they wanted to execute on the Green Bay Packers, but they still just didn't do enough to win the football game because this team can't freaking finish at all.
No. And one more positive for me about the actual game is I thought Theo Johnson, who had a breakout game last week with 7 for 75, just continued on that this week, made some really difficult catches, no bad drops. It's a good sign. I think he's becoming somebody who they can find as a solution on third downs. I hope he just continues to progress because he could be a very big safety blanket for Jackson Dart on some of these third downs. And we need what we can get when it comes to playmakers on the offense side of the ball.
Absolutely. 3 for 36 is not anything to write home about statistically. Yeah. 2 of those were on important third down, fourth down situations, big conversions. Tyrone Tracy Jr., and Devin Singletary. I thought the rushing attack, yes, the blocking was better than what we've been accustomed to seeing this season, but they were still hitting their creases and bouncing off tackle attempts that, like the one Tyrone Tracy Jr., he got blown up behind the line of scrimmage, just bounced off and then ran it for 20 yards down the field.
Yes.
The Giants' screen game was working, especially to the running backs. And I felt like Kafka did a good job dialing that up at the appropriate time when Green Bay was sending pressure as well. So the Giants it wasn't a bad offensive performance, all things. No. The Giants did what they needed to do offensively. It just wasn't enough. And then the defense can't come up with stops in that clutch time when you really need to. I will say that
20 against the Packers. Sorry, go ahead. Boy,
no, you're good, man. I was just going to say that the defense did come up with one big stop, and that was after the turnover on downs. The Giants had a 16-play, 56-yard drive. It was their first drive of the second half, right? And they went for it on 4th and 3. The Giants didn't get it. That was from their own 10-yard line. You can say, hey, we want to trust our guys. We want to show them that confidence. We already just picked up 2 fourth downs on that drive. Fine. The Giants came out and was 3 and out on the next drive. And then the Giants offense took the football down 15 plays, 85 yards and scored. So and that made that gave them the lead. That gave them the fourth quarter lead that we're talking about, 20-19. But then the defense capitulated on the following drive, and then the offense threw the interception, and then it's just like, oh, okay, here we go. And not to mention, man, we're talking about complimentary football. That puncher that the Packers had, he must have been kicking with the wind the entire game. That ball wouldn't land. That ball's still flying. That was crazy. When's the last time you saw Gillan do that?
Well, we can get to Gillan. But first I'll say this. Scoring 20 points against the Packers defense, that's enough to win a football game. Nobody scores 20 against this Packers defense, really, if you look throughout the game logs of this season. The Lions couldn't, the Eagles couldn't. So this game could not be blamed on the offense. I thought you made some great points. Kafka, I thought, had a really nice balanced game plan, and I thought he called screens at perfect times and had good solutions, both in the red zone and on third downs. So to me, this game's on the defense entirely. When you score 20 on the Packers, that should be enough to win the football game. No, they're not giving that up. But to your point about Jamie Gillan, I tweeted this out during the game, Nick. It's become really painful for me to watch him punt the football. It's just every week it's horrific punts. He shanks them. He gets no deep distance on him. He had like a 46-yarder today. That was like his best one. He doesn't pin you inside the 5 or 10, Gillan. And then I looked it up, Nick. Jamie Gillan's the 5th highest paid punter in the NFL. And even worse, dude, the next year, as we head to 2026, you say, all right, he's 5th highest paid, whatever, we can get out of this. We can't get out of this deal probably. The dude's cap hits $3.5 million next year, and like 2.5 of it is dead cap. So we're stuck with this guy probably for next year, or we cut him. Like I would just cut him and take the 2.5 dead cap and draft some like 6th-round punter. I actually think any punter in the draft is better than Jamie Gillan. To me, Jamie Gillan looks like one of the worst punters in the NFL. I don't watch every week punting for all 32 teams, Nick, but it looks like he has no power, Jamie Gillan. He has no ability to place the football when we're trying to a coffin corner punt. And he shanks random. He just randomly shanks punts too. So it's just like those 3 things combined. I can't imagine there's that many worst punters in the NFL. I imagine he's one of the 5 worst.
He might be. And he got lucky on that one punt too, because it went like 25 yards and it just rolled like another like
8 I know
to make it
just like a shank, dude. Like how many shanks has he had? Who shanks punts? We have multiple, like this guy shanks punts like 1 or 2 a game, like 1 or 2 every 2 games or something. We have a shank. It's crazy watching this guy punt.
I know, it's baffling how poorly the New York Giants have handled their special teams.
Yeah, Gano's on IR. Like we're paying these guys so much cap space for nothing.
I know. And now it's like we have Tae Banks returning kicks, and he's not even like the worst at it, right? Like he had a few like solid returns, but I feel like every time he gets hit, it's like always awkward, right?
Yeah.
He almost has that like George Pickens things going on where it's like he just finds these awkward ways to get bent and hit. And I'm always just like, don't fumble the football, man. He didn't on this one, knocking on wood.
No, he did not. You mentioned the punting, Nick. I think we talked about the offensive line as it moves forward. There are a few other things I wanted to talk about, like with the Giants as kind of like looking forward type stuff. We talked about Gillan. I want to talk about the offensive line. We got to do it. Oh, the 2 things that we still have to talk about. The number one most important thing, which I'll save, is Jay Glazer's Fox pregame show where he, did he and listen, Jay Glazer was the first to break the Odell Beckham Jr. trade when no one had it. Jay Glazer rarely reports news on anyone, but when he reports news on anyone, especially the Giants, he's a good track record. He's typically on target. So we'll get to that in a moment.
Did he say the Giants were interested in Jackson Dart before the draft?
I don't actually remember if he commented at all on the quarterbacks from last draft or the Giants' interest, but in the past, he's been very spot on with the Giants. We'll get to what Glazer reported this morning, and boy, oh boy, is it a nasty list of coaching candidates the Giants are apparently narrowing it down to. So hopefully he's wrong or it's early and there'll be other coaches in the mix. Before we do that, though, I want to bring up something positive 25 minutes into the show outside the offensive line moving forward. And it's that as we currently stand right now, Nick, the Giants have the second overall pick if it was ended today. Yes, please hit the like button. Tree Squirrel says it best. Tree Squirrel. Hit the like button, please. Hit the like button, leave some comments, help us grow the show. But the Giants currently have the second overall pick, Nick, and if it ended today, and this is the good news, I'm going to bring you the bad news in a second. If it did end today with the second overall pick, the Giants would be drafting ahead of the Cleveland Browns, the New Orleans Saints, the New York Jets, and the Las Vegas Raiders. All four of those teams need a quarterback. There is potential, Nick, for the Giants to do what we know they need to do and what we know can help turn this franchise around and basically just pull off the exact same deal the Cleveland Browns pulled off this past draft, moving back from 2 to 5 or 2 to 6, still getting a blue chip at 6, and then picking up the first round pick for next year, the 2027 draft, in addition to maybe like a second 2 or a third. This is still my dream for the offseason because if they're picking all the way down at 2, the Giants, I'm confident we can go back to 6 or 7, still get a big receiver or one of these linebackers or somebody, an impressive player there, a blue chip player, and then get the first for the year after.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to see what Joe Shane can do with all that ammunition. No, that would be excellent. Just, more kicks at the can. Who can the Giants bring in? Hopefully they actually develop some of the picks that they do select and they have a better process and better results when it comes to that. It is nuts that we're sitting here. It's mid-November. This year is just trudging along, right? Yep, and we're sitting here talking about a top 2 pick. What
is how it goes?
It's just
and nuts. They fired the head coach already. They're probably
fired the head coach
coordinator.
And it's crazy though, too, man. Because call me a nutcase, but it's like the Giants. They're a bad football team, right? Of course. But like they've been in so many of these games. Like it's not like they're just like an abject embarrassment getting blown out. Like everyone's like, this is going to be easy.
Yeah, they're not the tight ends, even though they have a record very similar.
Yeah, the Giants have pushed all of these teams, but when push comes to shove, Giants are getting shoved.
Yeah, and the bad news that I was going to bring is as far as the Giants holding the second overall pick right now, Nick, that's just because the Giants haven't had their bye week. They're 2-9. There's a lot of 2-8 teams. Also, in addition to that, the Giants are going to get screwed this draft by any team they tie with. We have the harder schedule, so that works against us in the draft. It means you draft lower because they assume you've played a harder schedule, so you're a better team. You know what I mean? Like if you won 3 games, had a harder schedule than another team who won 3 games, you pick below them. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Nick. I was hoping they win this one for Kafka. And when Dart gets back in, I'm hoping they win. But I'm also not disappointed with any loss at this point of the year at 2-9. And that's just how I'll always be as a fan. I won't be mad. I prefer the win, but I'm not all that disappointed with the outcome of these types of games. And I would very, very much so like to get a pick where we can trade back to get a quarterback, trade back with a team that wants a quarterback. So that's a good news. All right, let's talk about another thing here. Let's talk about Jay Glazer. His report.
No. First, I say we stick to the game and we talk a little bit about this Abdul Carter situation.
Okay, yeah, he was just benched. I mean, I don't have too much on it. You can speak on it if you feel.
Neither do I. Yeah. It's just that's your top 5 overall pick. He sat out the first drive and Timon Fox started. And look, we're not going to figure it out because it seems like the Giants are going to be tight-lipped about it. But I just hope this isn't like an issue that might be indicative of something going on with Abdul Carter that could be a problem going forward. You never really want to see you see something like a disciplinary thing and then not have insight into what that disciplinary action, why the Giants are doing that to Abdul Carter, right? Like he's still a rookie, and I don't know. I think it's worth mentioning at least.
Yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning. I hope it's nothing. We'll see. I'll be honest with you, Nick. Like I'm more in between on that narrative. Like, how the whole narrative is with Carter. Like the one side is like, Carter hasn't done anything. He's supposed to be great. And the other side is like, but look at all the pressures. I'm like not as far on the look at all the pressure side as maybe, I don't know where you stand on this.
Yeah.
think he should be looking a lot more impressive than he has so far in his rookie season. I was expecting a lot more than what we've got.
This is why I want to talk about Abdul Carter. I do agree with that. I also think Abdul Carter, though, has been, I don't want to say misused, because he's in this defense with Shane Bowen. The defense suffered injuries early. Abdul Carter was a linebacker, so the Giants have used him at the linebacker position, and he also has two very talented edge rushers in front of him. I don't. This isn't the optimal way to use a talent like Abdul Carter. With that said, he hasn't finished. That's a big problem with the New York Giants, as we've discussed. And as much as I want, and I've said, and I advocated for New York Giants players to make plays, you need to be judicious when you are also doing it. And it does seem like Abdul Carter is trying to make a play all the time at the expense of keeping the defense intact. And there's a lot of times where he runs himself out of plays and he's not exactly where he needs to be, whether that's in his run fit or in his pass lane. If he is in some sort of contain, it's a little bit difficult for me to tell just from watching without the all-22. But my overall point is he's trying to make a play, which I love because the Giants desperately need that. But he's kind of screwing some of his teammates over in the process of doing that, not because he's a bad teammate, but just because he's not where he's supposed to be. And when you're not where you're supposed to be, that's when everything starts to just collapse. And that's been a problem with this Giants defense all season.
Yeah, and just to see a comment from Proddy Brownie, he says, you all said Carter was playing phenomenal. Why can't we just be honest from the jump? We never said that. We talked about how he was playing was great. I don't think we ever said phenomenal or like good. I don't think we ever used the word phenomenal, and he has not been bad. So I disagree with you. We have been honest the entire time about Carter. We've never been dishonest about Carter. What I'm saying right now and what Nick's saying right now is that we just were expecting a little bit more out of him. And it's not just the finishing for me, Nick. It's just the overall like playmaking. I guess finishing is probably the same thing. I can't explain it, though. I just expect him to be a little bit more explosive looking. I expected him to be just making more plays, tackles for losses. And part of it is, you're right, he's just used in a, like, if there was no Kayvon Thibodeau on this roster, I'm sure his stats would have been better. Let's just be honest about the situation. And that's not a knock on Bowen as much as just we have a lot of defensive ends, and Kayvon Thibodeau's earned the right to play the edge, so we can use Carter at linebacker more. And our linebackers have been so depleted by injuries, we've had to use Carter at linebacker some more. But I think Proddy Brownie says we did say he was phenomenal. Maybe we did. You can clip it from a previous stream, but if we did, it was probably because he played phenomenal in that game. He's had phenomenal games this year.
He had phenomenal plays in this game. It's not like he is inept. I don't think what we're saying here is, I don't really think there's any inconsistencies in what we're saying. No. Proddy by Brown when it comes to Abdul. Look, Abdul Carter's a young player. I think the game is a little bit fast for him right now, but he still has insane elite athletic traits and explosive traits that showed up in this game where he reads the snap and he jumps it, and then it's an immediate interior pressure that either alters the rushing lane of the running back or forces the quarterback out of the pocket, depending on if it's a run or pass. Those are valuable, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he is playing quote unquote phenomenal type of football, because he hasn't played really consistent football. He still has had an impact though on the game. It's just maybe not to the level that we expect from a top 5 pick at that position.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's what we mean on that front. Anything else on this front, and anything else on the game? I don't have too much more on like the defense side of the ball at all. I mean, look, Dexter Lawrence, I thought played a little better on the broadcast than he had been.
Yeah, I agree. We got Drew Phillips getting benched for Nick Jones.
Drew Phillips got benched. Did Tae Banks also get benched for? I think two guys in the secondary got benched. I forgot.
I think Banks left the field for a little bit. Okay. You had Corey Black come into the game, but that was also in some nickel personnel as well. I mean, it's a mess in the second. Tyler Nubin didn't play. You had Paulson Adebo said it was going to play, was active, and then he felt some discomfort, and he ends up not dressing in the game, which hurt the New York Giants. So been a lot of issues in the secondary when it comes to injuries. It was nice to see Cordell Flott back out there, albeit he wasn't perfect in this one either.
Yeah, he had a really nice play at the beginning to punch that ball, but then he definitely lost track in a few plays. The first drop by Romeo Dobbs, Flott was in coverage for. So yeah. All right, let's talk about this report from Jay Glazer, and let's get to some supers as well. The report from Jay Glazer was in the Fox pregame show, and as I prefaced it, Jay Glazer is usually locked in when it comes to his reporting on the Giants. Okay. His report is the Giants' early list of coaches that they're targeting are Mike McCarthy. Just get yourself ready for this, Nick, because Mike McCarthy might be the best name you're going to hear. Like, you may be begging for Mike McCarthy. Oh, Nick just dropped from the show.
No, I'm here, but I'm listening. But yeah, you can keep going through. Just fixing the video.
It's all good. You might end up, Nick, be begging for Mike McCarthy after you hear the list of the other head coach candidates who Jay Glazer linked to the Giants. Mike McCarthy, Matt Nagy. Yes, that Matt Nagy who failed with the Bears. Arthur Smith. Arthur fucking Smith. Are you kidding me? Is that even a joke? Was he joking when he said Matt Nagy and Arthur Smith? In no way, shape, or form do I hope the Giants have any actual interest in Matt Nagy or Arthur Smith as their next head coach. But if they do, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second, and then Steve Spagnuolo, Lou Anarumo, who we've heard, and then Chris Shula, who's a hot coordinator name from the Rams. But if they legitimately do believe or are showing interest in guys like Nagy, Arthur Smith, and McCarthy, what does that tell me, Nick? What does that tell you? What it tells me is they're going to put this huge priority on guys who already were coaches in the NFL and guys who have done it before. And that is such a dangerous path to go down when you're looking at guys like Matt Nagy and Arthur Smith. If it's Arthur Smith, Nick, I don't know what I'll do. It's going to, I'm not suggesting anything dire, but if it's Arthur Smith, you're going to see the worst crash out I've ever had in Big Blue Banter history if we hire Arthur Smith. I don't even know if that's worse than Mike Nagy. Or Matt Nagy, whatever his stupid name is. That is actually worse than Arthur Smith. I don't even know what's going on with the Giants with this list.
They want somebody with experience, man. They want somebody with experience, and it's annoying. Chris Shula is the one name that comes up here as defensive coordinator, late 30s of the Los Angeles Rams. He's doing an excellent job. Would be interested in that. Again, I want a very thorough process. Like I said, Arthur Smith would be devastating. I don't want Mike McCarthy. I could talk myself into Mike McCarthy for the floor, like we talked about on the last show.
Yeah.
Whereas like Arthur Smith, I don't know why exactly the Giants would do that.
I don't either.
He must have so much respect from like the in coaches circles, because like in the media circles and the final product, it's been rough for Arthur Smith, who is now the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but was the Atlanta Falcons head coach for several seasons.
I missed something too, by the way. I mean, yeah, Arthur Smith could literally ruin Jackson Dart potentially with this shit offense that he runs for quarterbacks. And it's a fine offense in general. They run the ball well, like it's consistent on the run game, but I don't care about that. I care about Jackson Dart when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. And you don't win in the NFL by running the football. For the most part, you need to have a passing game to some extent, really in general, to win Super Bowls consistently. But Matt Nagy, I don't even want to talk about that. And this is the worst part of the report that, thank you, Diego Ortiz from the chat. I forgot about this. Part of the report was he said, this is not going to be a wide search. What the fuck, dude? And why are you not doing a wide search, Giants? Like, you want to just wrap it up and have a short list of names like Arthur Smith and Matt Nagy? Like, this is like a comedy right now, if it's true. I'm hoping this is like smoke or something.
I don't know, man. Why would it be?
I don't know.
Why would Glazer assign his name to smoke? Like, I've never.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
You know what I'm saying? So I think this could be the path. I think the Giants want a veteran coach, somebody who has been a head coach before. They will entertain the really enticing young coordinators, but I think the Mara family and the Giants overall are prioritizing experience.
This could be a nightmare. This could be an absolute nightmare if we could be begging for the return of Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll if someone like Arthur Smith takes over this offense. I don't think he even does well with players either. Like, I don't think he's like a player. Like, people have problems with Arthur Smith. Last year, he took away, like, he wouldn't let Russ make audibles. Like, I don't want him telling Jackson Dart, you're not making audibles and checks at the line of scrimmage. That's one of the best things Jackson Dart has done this year, make audibles and checks at the line of scrimmage. And I'm sure part of that is because his coaching, Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka, for all their faults, have empowered Jackson Dart to do that because they believe in him. I don't want some fucking asshole like Arthur Smith coming in, a know-it-all piece of you-know-what, I'm sorry for the cursing, telling him you can't make audibles and checks at the line of scrimmage anymore. It's my play or the highway. That's terrible. Like, this is just disgusting report. I'm just hoping, for God's sake, this isn't true. I didn't want to say that. I stopped using that name in there, but it is what it is. I'm just hoping this isn't true, Nick. That's all I can tell you right now.
Yeah, it's all we can do at this point. Like, I have no, obviously we have nothing other than this Jay Glazer report, but it does seem like all signs are trending towards the Giants and Joe Schoen hitching his wagon to a veteran. And if you're Joe Schoen, and if Joe Schoen is actually going to be retained,
Yeah.
It behooves him to hitch his wagon more than likely to a veteran coach because it's going to start presumably in a smoother fashion. So just there's a lot of signs
That's
pointing
a
into
good
that
point
direction,
too.
you know?
That's presumed. That's a big presumption to make.
Yes.
By the Giants. It's a stupid, idiotic presumption to make. They always do these reactionary, stupid things as a franchise that just make me so angry. This would be one of them. Hoping he's wrong. Again, look. Glazer typically doesn't report BS. That's what you said, and you're right, Nick. There's no real reason for him to put smoke out there. But hopefully, we work through this coaching search and we can get to something that's not Arthur Smith or Matt Nagy. That's all I could say right now. It would just be so ridiculous.
Yeah, no, man. Let's get into some supers and see what the listeners have to say. Enzo, thank you so much, said, if Chick-fil-A hired Deonte Banks, they'd finally be open 7 days a week. He needs to be benched. Yeah. I take any young guy over him. See, this is where, like, we've said this for a while now, Enzo. I agree he needs to be benched because you can say it's not effort, it's this, it's that, but his effort out there sucks. All right. Like that, that's why. And maybe it's not because he doesn't care, but overall the effort sucks out there. But there's no one on this Giants roster not named Paulson Adebo and maybe Cordell Flott. But Cordell's probably not even up there in man coverage who can cover as well as Deonte Banks. He can cover. And that's general managers will take swings on cornerbacks in the top 10 who can cover, and they have questionable traits when it comes to like run support and everything else, right? The coverage is a massive thing. And Tae Banks, I would say he's solid at it until the ball is within his immediate proximity. And then he turns into, he has no idea what he's doing, right? Because like locating the football that's a completely different thing. But yeah, I don't know without Paulson Adebo if you can bench Tae Banks. If Paulson Adebo's out there, I think you can, and maybe use him just here and there a little bit.
But the problem is they've benched Drew Phillips too. They've really just psyched. They can't figure it out in the secondary. Unfortunately, we're going to need. I guess I didn't even know what we're going to do. There's so many other needs. We're probably going to need to add another DB this offseason, which is a nightmare to begin with because DBs are so hard to find.
Flott too.
If we don't sign Flott, or if we do sign Flott, that remains to be determined. I don't know what his market will be. I would definitely prefer to re-sign Flott just because I don't want to burn any early draft capital at corner. We've really exhausted resources there, and it just doesn't work at the NFL level most of the time.
If Hodgins is on that corner out, we win this game. Thank you so much, Ronald. Thank you. We appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, maybe it's hard to say, but I think the Giants would be in a better situation with him on that, just because targeting him in the end zone is a much better move, much wiser move than somebody like Jalin Hyatt, who probably shouldn't be out there at this moment.
And just a reminder for those listening, if you want to join the chat and get your questions answered and heard, leave us a super chat and we'll get to your question.
Ronald also says Green Bay on the 29-yard line, 1st and 20, and inside DBs with 12 yards of cushion and 0 inside leverage. I get it's a talent issue, but that is just inexcusable. Yeah, man. Shane Bowen. He's Shane Bowen. Clyde Frog.
It's not just a talent issue.
Yeah, it's collective. Clyde Frog, thank you so much. Have the Giants stopped a single 2-point conversion this year? I'm trying to think. Have they?
Good question. I feel like we've certainly given up a lot. As far as they stopped one single 2-point conversion. Maybe not. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I don't know. Some in the chat with better memories, please.
Looks like Nick just dropped out again. I don't have a chance. I can't read the supers on my end, so we'll just wait a second for Nick. I will filibuster in that time. We discussed earlier the Giants currently. Here he is. Nick looks like he's returning to the show.
What's up? Yes, sir. Did I cut you off after I just decide to leave the chat and come right back in?
No. I was just filibustering.
All right, good stuff. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, bro. Said Hyatt gave up on 2 routes. Yeah. It's seems like that. Again, I think he might be thinking a lot. Like, I don't think it's like a Deonte Banks, like, oh man, I just don't want, like, it could be for some of them. I would have to watch, and maybe someone give me a little bit more insight there. But either way, it's ineffective and it's a liability. Sai, thank you so much. Another year of looking at tank. I know, man. I'm so sick of that website. Hopefully Dart can change that. You're right, Sai, man. We appreciate you and thank you so much. Igor, thanks, buddy. Says seeing Hodgins produce again, but only getting picked up after Dable was fired tells me the Giants prioritize everything but winning. Yeah.
Hard to argue against that right now.
Very Gooster, thank you. My boys. What's up, man? Weirdly not bothered by this L. I liked Kafka today. Goodbye, Bowen. Just hoping Mara sees that Shane is responsible for this defensive back depth, quote unquote.
Yeah, Shane's responsible for a lot of bad things. I will give him credit for the offensive line. It's not just Brasillo. He's done a good job. Runyon is playing much better. I think Runyon's having a much better year than he had last year, and I'll take that type of signing any day for depth, for he doesn't blow assignments. He's communicates well with the offensive line. I feel like the two centers have played solid football this year. Not great, but solid. Even GVR is playing a little bit better of late. And then Jermaine Illuminor, it's a star-studded signing. Like, you don't get a 2-year, $14 million contract for a tackle like Jermaine Illuminor ever in free agency.
You get James Hudson. Yeah.
You usually get James Hudson, right?
Yes.
And you're going to have your misses. And it's not like he's a perfect track record of offensive line. Neal, Hudson, Zudu, who's been hurt. But, like, and that's part of the reason. But like, who cares? Like, Reese and Gettleman took a million swings, had a million failures, but then had no hits. Like, that was the point. Like, they couldn't get it right. We haven't had any GM get the offensive line right since Accorsi. He's gotten that right, but that's not nearly enough for me to believe in Joe Shane deserves to be back.
Agreed. Yes, sir. Thank you. Said Theo has learned how to catch 3 passes. Hope it continues. But yes, some of those were nice hands catches by Theo Johnson. I felt like this was one of his better games, and also just the tight ends were crucial in the rushing attack too. 12 personnel. Yep. Daniel Bellinger a lot. Trap wham, bring him across the formation, hit somebody, just hold them up. And the Giants were creating actual rushing lanes and cutback lanes to be hit by Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Devin Singletary.
Right.
Ronald, thank you. Said Hodgins is a perfect 4, red zone 2, and he's cheap. Yeah,
I agree. I think he meant like a wide receiver 4 for the team, number 2 option in the red zone, which I don't hate the idea of. I think he could be a good red zone guy. He's proven in the past.
That he has. Igor, thank you. Guys, don't fall for silly narratives. Dan Campbell is a fiery guy, but he wins. Todd Bowles was calm, but he lost. Players don't like any personality if the guy loses, and vice versa if he wins.
Well, we're not saying don't be fiery about Dable and the comments about what Wandell said about Kafka. We're saying don't lose your cool and look like a buffoon. Like, Dan Campbell being fiery is not the same as some of the stuff we've seen with Dable, like chucking the tablet at Daniel Jones away from Daniel, whatever he did with that, and some of the other things.
Going into the blue medical tent, like stuff like that. And to the point where I don't even know if it was just Wandell. There might have been another player in chat. Please follow up with that, who insinuated or just flat out said, we liked Kafka's calming presence. He was a calming presence. They stress that. Like, when players are doing that, they're doing it deliberately because they are juxtaposing the actions of Mike Kafka next to the head coach that they had last week, Brian Dable. And they're saying, well, he was calm. That's a good thing to have. And, there's something to be read into there.
Correct.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hodgins, practice squad player, so much better than Hyatt. Trade up, send Hyatt to the Motel 6 and say it's over. Don't. He's always with these crafty little jokes. Don't leave the light on. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Anthony, Groundhog Day. It does seem that way. It's a different head coach, different everything, but no, it was same old result. Groundhog Day. Need all offensive guard, linebacker, wide receiver, and a new staff. By the way, Parcells was never calm on the side. I was thinking that when Dan was saying it. I think it meshed well with the personalities that were on that team. Also, definitely a much different era.
I was gonna say way different era. Like, we're talking about players who are 20 to 29 years old, or I'm sorry, 22 to 29 or 22 to 35 years old, were way different human beings than they are 22 to 35 now, growing up on your phones, social media, and everything that's impacted the youth.
Absolutely, man. Tyrone, or this is her. He says, Tyrone and the offensive line performed pretty well. Good game plan overall, given situation and weather. Felt like it was specifically for Green. Yeah, it did seem that way, man. Just kind of tough to throw the football. He also says Banks almost a PBU, tied with Gunner from last week. Yeah, he did almost have a PBU. Igor says players like fiery head coach if they win. Dan Campbell, no, absolutely. Winning is the winning cures everything. Isser also says after watching Detroit and Philly, who have so many great linebackers who can fly, it's so hard to watch our linebackers. you are right, Dan. Draft some flyers, please. Athletic people too, right?
Yeah, I hope we draft some athleticism at the second level. We're never going to reach the level we want from this defense until we get some athleticism at the second level.
100%, man. And dude, Bobby Okereke and fouls, like Demetrius Flanagan fouls, they had a few plays that was like nice, right? Like I feel like Bobby Okereke, he's not like a terrible linebacker. Like I see like some narratives. It's just I think there's a lot on him, and he took a step back athletically. And with fouls, like Fouls is getting himself in position, but I don't think he's kind of lost in coverage, right? Like he's not great situationally.
Coverage that kills me with our linebackers.
Yeah,
they made both of them make some plays in the run game. A couple stuff I like to see them driving downhill, but it's just never a hand in a pass lane or never getting tipped. Like our linebackers just don't make plays in the pass game. It's a really big problem. It makes our zone defense so susceptible.
Yeah, I mean, it also doesn't help that you just have like these two middle hooks, and then the deep fourth defenders are deep. So like those linebackers, the linebackers get drew up, like their attention gets held by the play action, and then they drop the depth, and then there's usually an underneath route or a stick or something to sit on, and then there's a bunch of space between the safeties and the linebackers.
Good point. That's a schematic issue from James Bowen.
Yeah. Javier, thank you, says, wasn't finish one of Coughlin's mottos? I believe it was. I think it's
believe. That's my favorite Tom Coughlin motto.
But you went about like 25% Tom Coughlin there, but you weren't confident enough to go 400. That's what that was, wasn't it?
I'm working on it.
Oh, you're gonna get it, dude. You're gonna get it. Excuse me, Michael. Thank you. What are your thoughts on the? We talked about this
over that. Yep.
Yeah, seems pretty.
It's horrific. It's horrific, Michael. We can only hope it's not real. Not real. It's real. Like Glazer doesn't do not real. So we can only hope the Giants are going to rule out Matt Nagy and Arthur Smith fast. They have to. They can't do it. It's the backlash they'd face, dude, from the fan base is. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the backlash if we heard Arthur Smith is a finalist for the Giants head coaching job?
I'm gonna have to dive into some old Falcons tape to watch him misuse Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts.
God, he would ruin Jackson Dart, literally.
Oh, man. Isser, thank you so much. Said, did we play too much man on D like the blitzes? It seemed like it on third down, but like it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, right? Like it's just it's third down and 4. It's man coverage, timing, pick route. Javon Holland gets knocked off they knew what the Giants were going to do that tight in the red zone, and so they ran a deliberate quick pick within the 1 yard range to knock Javon Holland off of a route for an easy touchdown. It's just like the Giants don't really change it up. The answer's the test right there. Clarence, thank you. Would almost prefer the Giants do the bare minimum this offseason, which is keep Kafka and promote Brown rather than hire yet more clueless bozos. Bozo's a funny word, by the way.
I would definitely rather them keep Kafka and promote Brown than keep Shane and hire Arthur Smith or Matt Nagy. That's for sure.
Igor, thank you, says, looking at Shedeur today and hearing about the rumors that Shane and Brown wanted him at 3 makes me worried this regime is still in the building.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely got to hope that that's just a rumor.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been any confirmed.
Yeah, I have no, I don't know if it's valid, right? But that would be concerning.
Yeah, I also think like in general, I'll always go back to that conversation I had with John Fox, who's just like never fall for the bullshit. Like when it comes down to it, the GM makes the pick. His job is on the line. He only gets a chance to do this once. There's just no way Joe Shane would have traded up and taken Jackson Dart if he didn't believe in Dart. Joe Shane probably believed in Dart, not to the extent of Dable, and he probably and potentially loved Shedeur. I don't want to say probably, potentially based on this rumor, but I think, it's still a process where if Shane was out on Dart, they would have never drafted Dart.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't out on Dart.
Right.
But it's plausible that Brian Dable helped move the needle towards Dart, his conviction, because it still is a team environment where Brian Dable's conviction is going to be, and what he believes is going to be weighed into the decision, but ultimately the decision lies at the feet of Joe Shane, who made the decision to draft Jackson Dart.
Correct.
Javier, thank you so much, said, what if they fired Jerry Reese instead of Tom Coughlin?
Butterfly effect. I don't know. It's hard to say what would have happened from that point on.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. You know what's crazy about it? And I think about weird butterfly effect things like this a lot. If you remember, the Eagles were going through a head coaching search the year the Giants were, and they wanted to interview Ben McAdoo.
Oh, I thought it was McAdoo.
They wanted to interview Ben McAdoo.
They blocked him.
And we blocked him because Eli Manning had a resurgent year in Ben McAdoo's offense, and Ben McAdoo was looked at as the possible a replacement for Tom Coughlin. And the Giants went in that direction. Tom Coughlin retired, and what if that didn't happen? And the Giants were like, you know what? We want to try. And then Ben McAdoo ended up going with the Eagles, and could have just changed up.
We
the
still
Eagles
would have found a way to get it wrong, I'm sure.
Oh, dude, Ben McAdoo would have convinced Howie Roseman to trade up and get Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes would be on the Eagles right now and be like, oh my God,
you're right.
It'd have been terrible. No, but yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, that's funny too, because we had a situation where our head coach convinced the GM most likely to trade up and get Jackson Dart. He had the power to do it. They worked together. McAdoo never had that power with Jerry Reese at all. Jerry Reese was doing those whole drafts by himself. If McAdoo had the power to do that, the Giants would have had Patrick Mahomes.
No, he wanted him.
Yeah.
Which would have been, could you imagine?
Crazy. He wanted to trade up for him. But
talk about a butterfly effect. Imagine Ben McAdoo. We would be like, dude, Ben McAdoo's the man, dude. We got Patrick Mahomes.
Would we have though? Like, would we even have an offensive line? Like, would our offensive line have been as bad as it was?
You would have never got with Andrew Reid. Like, imagine remember when we traded up for Patrick Mahomes? That guy sucked.
Yeah.
Like the guy.
Then he just revived his career immediately. It would be maybe even more devastating. We might have had him, ruined him like the Jets ruined Sam Darnold, and then this is a crazy butterfly effect.
Yeah. I like thinking about it, though. Kevin H., even though it causes despair. Kevin H., thank you. What would Kafka have to do for you guys to desire keeping him as head coach? Also, what do you think Hyatt playing more mean? Shane has more control of Kafka. I mean, possibly. When it comes to Hyatt, I think he played more because Darius Slayton wasn't there today, too. And I do think, Joe Shane probably has some input, and Kafka, is in his interest to listen to Joe Shane's input if Joe Shane's going to be the general manager. Mike Kafka is going to be a possible head coach. So, yeah, I think you're onto something there, Kevin H., for sure. And what would he have to do for me to desire to keep him? Well, the options are Arthur Smith and Matt Nagy. Not that much. Not that much. No. But in all honesty, I want to see just progress. The team played hard today, right? Like, I felt like it's not like they quit on the coach. So I would want to see that, and I want to see them win some freaking games. That needs to change. Like, they need to actually finish and win more than just one game. I want to see competitive football and some finish, because that's something that we just have not seen this season, the finishing part.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. And maybe some of his decisions pay off. Like, if he does decide to fire Shane Bowen this week, and then they promote somebody to defensive coordinator who does a great job with this defense, and we start to play great, inspired defense the rest of the year, that could be a reason to bring back Kafka as well. Because I think he's doing a good job on the offensive side of the ball. Again, to get 20 points on this Packers defense with what he had to work with on the offensive side of the ball was pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, man. Yes. Igor,
defense didn't do him any favors.
No, maybe Glazer knows the Giants want an experienced head coach, but is guessing on the name.
No, Igor, he's not a guesser. Jay Glazer doesn't guess. He said this a couple years ago when he did the report on Beckham, and everyone was like blasting him because how social media can be. How Giants Twitter can be. They're like, you're an idiot. You're a jerk off. How could you say this? You're so stupid. There's no way the Giants would ever trade Odell Beckham Jr. when he reported it. And then days later, they traded Odell Beckham Jr. So he said at that moment when that happened, he's like, now you guys know I don't report things unless because he doesn't make reports every week, right? Like, this is the first Glazer report about the Giants head coaching search or any head coaching search this year. He hasn't been doing reports a lot, but when he does them, as he said, it's because he has seriously good intel. So this is real. The Giants are looking at these idiots like Nagy and Arthur. We just only hope that they don't hire these guys.
Okay. I'm trying. He had another report that he broke about the New York Giants, and I'm pretty sure it was wasn't it Wink Martindale?
Oh, he did the Wink one too. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I remember like we weighed into that, and we had this conversation recently, and it was a few years ago, but yeah, it was the tension between Wink Martindale and
he did report on that. And then at the time, right after he reported it, I remember Dable said, "Nah, we're good. We just shared a pizza the other night," or whatever it was.
Yeah, he's like, the only thing we fight about is over the last slice of pizza. Basically, just being like, "Yeah, we're both fat. We're best friends." They were only right about one of those things. All right, yes, sir. Thank you so much. Is Marty Morningweg next on Sean Whisper?
That was a good one, is sir.
Dude, he's awesome. Guy's on fire.
Marty Morningweg, that's hilarious.
Yes. John, thank you so much. Injecting a little levity. The Big Blue Banter font above and below this live video is the same as a Law and Order title font. Was that intentional? It was not, John, and I did not know that. That's something to look into. But
You
now
ever watched Law and Order? I never watched it.
there was one of the one. I think I watched one of the ones. Like
probably. I think that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
mostly watch.
the one with Chris Maloney and the lady who's always at the Knicks games.
Yeah, I don't know it. Haven't seen any Law and
but
Order.
I don't really like. It was like background stuff. I don't really watch.
The new Vince Gilligan show though is phenomenal. If you get a chance to watch it,
I don't really watch television shows like that unless it's like again going to bed. Just need to.
You did watch Breaking Bad though.
I did. I like Breaking. I watched. That was like, what was that, like 13 years ago? I watched that
a long time ago. He's the guy who created Breaking Bad.
Okay.
With Reyes Sehorn, who was in Better Call Saul. It's been really good so far. I think it's just a cool idea too. It's like what happens when we do let AI take over for us, and it's gonna be bad.
Okay.
It's gonna get dark.
Interesting.
It's gonna get dark here.
Yeah, no, I read a book about the Age of AI, I think it's called, written by Henry Kissinger and Eric Schmidt. So I am interested in that topic.
Very nervous about that, but that's another topic for another day.
All right. John, thank you. And then Igor also says, sorry for the duplicate super about Dan Campbell.
That's
Igor,
all right.
Never got to apologize to us.
Yeah,
buddy.
dude.
Never got to apologize.
Don't ever apologize to us. You're amazing for our show, and thank you so much for all the super chats.
We appreciate it. Duke, appreciate this as well. What requirements do you guys have for next head coach? Dan, I don't know if I have a strict requirement right now. It could be a rookie head coach. It could be somebody with experience. I'm not interested in some of the names that we brought up before, with like the Arthur Smiths of the world, the Matt Nagy's. I would like. I just want a competent coach who doesn't need to. He doesn't have to have been a part of one of these very successful NFL teams like the Eagles or the Chiefs. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case because, again, like Matt Nagy comes from that tree, but that wouldn't hurt either. I'm not in the meeting rooms with, with the Maras and all that, right? Like I'm not there for that, but I just personally want a thorough process. That's not, hey, we kind of like these guys. We're going to keep a really short list, interview 3 of them, and then choose one of them just because they're experienced. I think that's flawed.
I agree. I think for me, first and foremost, everyone and anyone could say, and they will say, I want a head coach with experience who's going to be a leader of men, and he's going to build out a good staff, which is all great on paper. So I could just say, yeah, I want that too. But that's harder. It's great on paper for a reason. There's not like any great coach will be all of those things, but you don't know who that's going to be before you hire them, in my opinion, unless you're hiring someone like Sean Payton or someone who's done it before at a successfully high level. I don't consider Mike McCarthy to be one of those people personally.
But he's the closest one of all the ones that are mentioned.
Yeah, he's just had a really good circumstances too. A Hall of Fame quarterback with Rodgers, didn't do enough with him, didn't win enough with him, and then the best offensive line of the decade with the Dallas Cowboys with 3 Hall of Famers on their offensive line. It's just not good. It's just this context that I just can't get through in my head. But what I really want then, because this is something that actually is tangible, Nick, I want someone who's going to come in here and speak to the Giants general manager, whoever it is making the decision, the owners, about what his plan is for Jackson Dart. I want somebody, and I'm not saying I want a hot shot coordinator. People say, oh, we just did that with Dable. But that wasn't the part that we got wrong, right? Like we got the Dart part wrong. Dable did great for Dart. Like Dable's developed Dart in ways we couldn't even imagine in year 1, given the injuries at receiver and the circumstances around Dart losing Scadaboo and Neighbors. What we need is somebody who can do that plus the leader of men and all that comes with it. But I need someone to come in here and say, I got a plan for Dart. What that plan is, I want him to talk specific scheme. I want to talk about the things he likes in Dart, what he saw, what he's going to get out of Dart moving forward based on the schematics of it. And then his plan for how to build around Dart. What I mean by that is, are you a guy who wants to completely revamp the receiver room and use all your resources there? Or are you a guy that's going to come in and say, I believe the best chance for Dart to have long-term success is to build his offensive line. Even if we have starters there currently, we're going to continue to build out that offensive line, because that's what I want, by the way. So I want somebody who has a plan for Jackson Dart. And yeah, I want a leader of men and all that other good stuff, but sometimes you don't know who those are going to be. Like nobody knew Sean McVay was going to be a leader of men when they hired Sean McVay.
Yeah, exactly. Ronald, thank you so much, buddy. No roster creativity either. Linebacker, get a big safety for 3rd down. We used to have that heavy nickel package with a wily vet, Alexander, Grant, Collins. Yeah. Now we're benching some of those kind of guys now, and it's
that's a good point. We don't have like any of those like veterans playing like the overhand, like any of the nickel position. We have like Drew Phillips playing it, who's a good player in that.
Dane Belton when Tyler Nugent is on the field, it would be, I guess, the
veteran
safety, the veteran that fits that bill. But you're right. There's just not a lot of talent on defense right now at the second level beyond the edge rushers, really.
Right. Around the end decks.
Yeah, of course. Bear, thank you so much. Says, well, if we're picking this high, and since we have a quarterback trading down, we might hit a jackpot with all the needy teams. Yeah, if these I hope like right now, I don't hear a lot of positive things about the quarterbacks coming out of this draft class. It's just saying it's a weaker class. I'm hoping some of that narrative can be flipped. It still can. It's still early enough too.
Yeah.
And the draft process has not started. These things can get heated up, and then, rumors start coming out. This team likes this, all this kind of stuff. I hope that's the case if the Giants bottom out this season, and then they could just drive a bidding war up and come away with a bunch of picks and hopefully actually do something with them.
Well, the Giants, yeah, I mean, two things on that note. One, like we said, currently they are 2-9, picking number 2 in the draft. They're most likely, Nick, I think you'd agree with this, going to be 2-11, right? They're not going to beat the Lions coming off the loss. The Lions are going to be pissed. I think the Lions are home next week too. That's almost an auto loss. And then it's in New England, the 9-2 Patriots on Monday Night Football. So they're going to be 2-11. They're going to be trending toward that direction. They can pull off wins though against the Cowboys, Commanders, and Raiders potentially if things break a certain way. I mean, look, they almost beat the Packers today. So if they do have that second pick, I do believe that quarterbacks, it'll be driven by just need. Like, even if there's not guys right now who we think are like great quarterbacks, though I will say at this time last year, Ward was already kind of maybe not as the number one, but like he was having such a phenomenal season for Miami. Yeah. Mendoza's the only one doing that right now. And then the kid on Alabama, but they think the kid on Alabama might return, Nick. And if that's the case, we already know Aller is not good. Like Nuss is not going to be like a guy. So like you're running out of guys. Nobody's going to take Lenore Sellers up there after what he's done. He's like, people are going to look at Richardson and be like, we can't do it that high. So it is going to be a limited quarterback class regardless. There will be need that drives teams into wanting to talk themselves into quarterback for sure. And all it takes is one. If we have the second overall pick, it might all it take is one. But the Titans can also then just do that themselves as well. They could trade the one and get the
Yeah, no, they could. It's still a lot to play out.
Yeah.
Benjamin Gold, thank you so much. Why is the run D such trash? What is your ideal style of defense you'd prefer from the new coordinator? I liked the Wink Martindale style. Now, I don't mind like a multi like a multi-front defense similar to like what we saw with Patrick Graham. I don't mind the 5-man fronts, the gapping out. Somebody who is going to crowd the line of scrimmage, bail, crowd the line of scrimmage, bail, crowd the line of scrimmage, send. Somebody who's going to waste blockers, manipulate protection, use unconventional means to generate pressure, not just through like simulated pressures or, apex nickel blitzes, but through overloads, through cross dog blitzes with the linebackers to create internal pressure. Then you fake that and then you come off the edge. And there's a lot of just different pitches that you see around the NFL from defensive coordinators. And then you see Shane Bowen, who's just sitting there throwing a fastball, throwing a fastball, it's 3rd and 10. There's more going to run man cover, and I just want a more creative mind out there defensively.
Yeah.
Really,
I think that's well said. It could be you could run a different, there's different variations of creativity. I tend to agree with you, Nick. I will always prefer a coach who comes from that like Rex Ryan coaching tree, like a Jim Leonard type. He's out there still. I would love Jim Leonard as a Giants defensive coordinator at any point, any time in my life. I know the type of defense he runs and it wreaks havoc. And so I want somebody who's going to do what you said, put everybody at the line of scrimmage, drop bail, just like you said, waste blockers. We don't waste any blockers. I feel like and you're right. Like when you mentioned, I just thought about under Wink when we had those situations where we had overload blitzes. We had like 4 guys on an uneven line of scrimmage and it really confused the quarterback. We do nothing to confuse the quarterback in this defense. That's the key, Ben, just to confuse the quarterback. And then the third thing I would just say is, I want to run an odd front next year. I want Dex over the nose full time and move Kayvon inside, maybe do what you want to do, maybe mix and match those 3 edges. I don't know how you want to play it, but I want to get away from this style of gapping. I just think generally speaking, for the run defense, get more situations where you have 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. We have those 2 edges kind of playing that wide 9 position with 3 inside.
Yeah, and that's sort of why the run defense is such trash. I mean, the Giants, first off, execution is a big part of it. And secondly, they're not really, they don't use a lot of like 8-man spacing. And what I mean by that is like the box, they're not giving themselves the mathematical advantage in the box to allow their defense to play as undisciplined as they're playing. Right. Take for instance, like if the Giants are sound from a gap integrity standpoint inside of the tackle boxes, which they are sometimes, they're never like that when it comes to those outside runs. So we've seen a lot of teams just attack and attack and attack outside. A lot of the times it is towards Tae Banks, because again, Tae Banks just forcing the guy inside is enough, but not enough of these players are making the play to get off of blocks and then flow to the football and make the tackle. And then the linebackers aren't in position. The safeties are taking bad angles. It's a defense where they're not executing consistently. And they're also not at a schematic advantage against the run all the time, because the Giants do play sometimes with those safeties back at a depth where they got to cheat down significantly to make the math even. So you're forcing guys on the defensive line to play like a gap and a half. And now they're not necessarily, they're maybe thinking a little bit too much, which is hindering their ability to actually make a play. So I think there's a lot there, but it's the Giants just are.
We need some linebackers too, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother, that's the personnel thing too. I mean, and you can argue they had linebackers, they have them. Michael McFadden's not there.
We need more defensive linemen. Do we need a lot? We need interior defensive linemen too.
Yeah.
Like Roy Robinson Harris has been by far and away our second best interior defensive lineman, but he's not, he shouldn't be your DT. He shouldn't be your second best. He should be more of a rotational, please, in a good defense.
I agree, man. Tuto, our guy. What's up, man? It's a massive respect to Nico and Dan, kings of New York Giants media and diehard Giants fans across the pond. Greetings from our Italian national rugby team, currently in South Africa. You're in South Africa.
That's pretty sweet. You guys playing over there? Good for you guys.
Enjoy it, man. He also says, Dan, well said, mate. Responding right, head coach with leadership qualities, and also who's able to develop players to the next level. Brilliant observations and comments, mate.
Well, thank you, Tuto. Appreciate you. Appreciate your support of the show consistently.
Yeah, Tuto's the man. And he's out there. He's running people over, doing rugby. He saw that.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Rugby's a tough sport.
Yeah, it is. Kevin, is it possible if Bowen is fired and someone like Patterson is promoted to DC, he could run some schemes we ran during Wink's era? I mean, I think they'd probably keep the same. They would definitely keep the same defense, but you could keep the same defense. You could change things up, and there's probably curveballs in the defense, I have to imagine, that just aren't used all that much because it's risky, and you're trying to prevent the run. You're trying to do this, and you're kind of just ensuring that everybody can execute their role while not putting too much of a burden on one player specifically. But maybe if a new play caller gets in there, he can change that up, break a cycle, and then catch an offense, not knowing what the Giants are going to do on third and 4 and 3rd and 6, which would be a lot different than what we've seen recently. I don't know if it would be Patterson though, man. It could be Manuel.
Yeah.
He's I think he's the passing games. I don't know if passing games coordinator is the right term, but he's in charge.
I'll be interested to see, because I think they're definitely going to do it.
Yeah. We will see then. Ronald, thank you so much, man. Says, why don't we? I don't know. Why don't we?
Yeah, like the excuse early in the season was, well, we're playing these athletic quarterbacks, and so just let's be patient. But it's like we've played a lot of quarterbacks. You can twist and stunt against Jordan Love when he's down like 3 of his offensive linemen, like the Packers were in this game. They were just beat up on the offensive line.
Yeah, the Giants just can't stop the run, and they're scared to.
Yeah,
they don't want to exchange the gaps. They don't even have a grasp on the gap to exchange it. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like they can't even hold. They can't even hold their own. Yeah. So and what would that do to the second level? Right.
What a mess.
Yeah. So that I think
it's so much worse than I ever thought it could be this year.
Yeah, it sucks, man. What do you think, John? Thank you so much. What do you think sets McVay and Shanny Jr. apart from most other very mid coaches? In-game decisions, personnel input, they succeed so consistently. I think it's a lot of things that we don't see during game day. I think a lot of it is preparation. It is it's understanding the little details, having the right personnel to execute those details while bringing a fresh look at play calling and innovation, while also understanding how to sequence those plays best when the game is actually going on. And you talk to anybody, you watch the tape on the 49ers or the Rams, it's like they run the football, and then they run a play action off it, and it just looks so much like that run. And the wide receivers are selling. Everybody is selling it to really force that defense to take an extra step forward when that's going to give the wide receiver running the crossing route or the tight end that much more leverage vertically because it was sold that well. Like attention to detail is so important. And it's not something that we can always focus on just watching the tape. But man, guys like that, I just think the attention to detail is outstanding. Same with somebody like Kevin O'Connell, for instance.
Right. I think you nailed a lot of what sets them apart, Nick. I think in-game decisions would be the least of what's. I think they're both really bad at in-game decisions, clock management, things like that. I think they coach conservatively, McVay and Shanahan. Yet they're still so consistent and successful because of what you said, their attention to detail, their schematics on the offensive side of the ball. They just dominate. They just win the chess match over and over and over again on a very consistent basis. Not today, obviously. McDonald did a really good job against Sean McVay and the Rams today, but it was the first team to really slow them down this year. And they faced a lot of good defenses, and they still won. But that's because Darnold threw 4 picks. It was the Rams defense did a great job on that side of the ball.
Who's their defensive coordinator again?
Potential Giants head coach candidate. The only interesting one that Jay Glazer mentioned, the only non-retread. But
imagine getting like a Mike McDonald. That's like,
if that right. And that McDonald has turned this Seahawks team around really fast, really fast. They have a lot of talent on the defense side of the ball that maybe we don't have, but it's not like they were assumed to be this amazingly talented defense before he took over there in Seattle. But I will say this, those two coaches just seem to have an edge from a schematic standpoint on offense. And I like what you said about the attention to detail. It's in the run game specifically, I feel like, where they really practice and preach attention to detail, where the receivers are really good blockers. Puka's a really good blocker. The Niners in the past had receivers who were really good blockers. Losing Ayuk has hurt that, and their run game has kind of taken a big hit this year. But outside of this year, it's been the case.
Bear, thank you so much. Says Jets with those picks. Trade up with Giants. Yeah, Jets. Come a calling. I don't
know if the Jets are going to. I think the Jets, after trading trading for the future like they did with the Cowboys and the Sauce trade, they're going to specifically not panic take a quarterback this year. I think they're just going to do a long rebuild where they're looking at 2027 as the class they draft a quarterback in.
They've been in a long rebuild since like the 60s, haven't they?
Yeah, but I just don't think they're. That would just a gut feel they're not going to draft a quarterback this year.
Hey, Ronald, great super chat here. Thank you so much. The chat, Google, buy me a coffee, Big Blue Banter.
Thank you.
If you want to support the stream, but don't feel like asking questions, these guys deserve our support. Hey, Ronald, you're the man. Thank you so much. And we really appreciate that.
Yeah, really appreciate that. Thank you.
And that's the last super chat. We're here 116 talking New York Giants. 116 on the, not on the time, but on the time on the show is what I mean, man. It's a lot to get into, man. A lot to get into in this one. Head coaching candidates. It's what a time of year. What a time to be a Giant fan.
Yep. It's as usual. We're it's only 11 games into the year, but we're already thinking about next year. That's been our lives for a little while. But as I said earlier, at least our next year, Nick, we can end it here. At least our next year does involve a quarterback we believe in, does involve an offensive line we believe in to protect that quarterback. We already have 1 and 2 knocked out. And think of how much worse we'd be feeling right now if the Giants decided to pass on Neighbors and draft J.J. McCarthy right now. We would be heading into this offseason with J.J. McCarthy, us trying to make that work. If that's not going to, I know it's early, man, but if that's going to look like it's going to, like the way it looked today and last week with Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, their offensive line, those tackles and those guards, if it's going to look like that, it would be a nightmare if we thought maybe McCarthy, we said we wanted Neighbors and McCarthy. We're like, we can see the upside of McCarthy. And I still think he has that upside that we said, but I would have felt so bad going into this offseason right now with McCarthy, no Neighbors, and us just trying to make this McCarthy thing work.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Giants are in a much better spot now than
it could be
having
so
Neighbors
much worse.
Yeah.
That's not to say it won't work, but I just don't want to go into let me just clarify that. I wouldn't have wanted to go into the offseason, Nick, being like, well, we can try to make this McCarthy thing work by building. I feel like with Dart, we don't have to say that. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like with Dart, I'm not saying we can try to make this Dart thing work. We're saying, how do we get the pieces around Dart? We know we like the Dart thing. Now we just need to figure out how to get the right stuff around him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be a process that we will be covering. And thank you so much for tuning in, everybody.
Yep. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week. We'll be back tomorrow with some film review.